You're listening to the Jackson House Podcast, the starting point of your journey to recovery. Whether it's you or a loved one navigating mental health challenges or addiction, we're here to offer support. Get to know the dedicated professionals guiding you, hear powerful stories of transformation, and discover valuable tools and tips to maintain your well-being and sustain recovery. Welcome to your supportive community at both West Coast Recovery Centers and Jackson House. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for another episode of the Jackson House Podcast. We are back here at our Jackson House Recovery Center in San Diego, Golden Hill area. And with me today is Andrew Covert. He is one of our counselors here. And he's going to share with us his role, what he enjoys about Jackson House, and just some more insights on this facility. So thank you for being here today.
Absolutely.
And willing to talk and share with the audience a little bit about yourself.
Sure.
So maybe let's start with, what do you do here for Jackson House, how long you've been in the field, and I always like to find out what got you into this line of work.
Okay. So my name's Andrew, and I got into as I shared with you before we started, I met Bruce, one of
the CEO
of Jackson House. Thank you. Sorry, I'm a little nervous on this. I'll get started. I'll be fine.
It's all good.
At another facility, and I left to do something else for a couple of years and came back. Mm-hmm. And I reached out, and Jackson House was starting, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do at first. Corporate, or go back into corporate America, or come in to do drug and alcohol rehab. And I came to Jackson House. We were just opening. COVID was just kind of winding up, mm-hmm. and trying to get the doors open. And met the staff that were here, and talked to Bruce and his team at the time, and loved the facility and the heart and the essence of what was trying to be accomplished. To meet people where they're at, to take situations from substance abuse and give people hope, plant seeds, be a loving, supportive environment. And I met with the director at the time, and there was two directors at the time, and they both had the same mission that very much is close to my heart. I am also in recovery and have been consistently sober since 1983.
Oh my goodness.
So 41 years of recovery.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I'm one of the lucky ones, and I'm only 27.
How do you do that math?
I know. It's like, I have trouble at math, but dyslexic. But anyway, so why am I here? I'm here, one, because I believe in the program. Mm-hmm. I believe in recovery. I believe in giving people the opportunity to learn about addiction, help them, educate them, and help them understand that they're not bad people. Yeah. There's a component of addiction that robs an individual of the good qualities of who they are or who they were, and drugs and alcohol bring in an element where the guilt and the shame factor is so huge, and then it's manifested after substance abuse, and then the family trust is broken, the lies start, the cheating steals, the guilt and shame spiral, and the only way an addict knows to get rid of that guilt from the employer, from the family, from siblings, relationships, finances, health, all of these things are affected. And the only way they know how to get rid of that feeling is to drink and do more drugs. Mm-hmm. So by the time they get here, after sometimes 15 or 25 years of substance abuse, they believe they're worthless. Mm-hmm. And one of the things we do here at Jackson House, and a lot of treatment centers do, but I'm pro to Jackson House because we're just a really loving group of people. Many of us are in recovery and have had been on this journey and want to just give it back. Mm-hmm. When somebody comes and says, I drank and I fell down and my life is really messy and I've hurt the people that I love, and I want to stop, we get to say, me too. And we get them and they know it. Mm-hmm. one addict talking to another addict, whether it's the peers, the treatment peers, or a lot of the staff. We don't bring our personal stuff here, but the level of empathy, and it's people that on every level, some of the nursing staff, counseling staff, psychiatric staff, a lot of the people in the Jackson House family, either mental health or substance abuse, get it.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm not here. I'm here to give back. I'm not a full-time staff member. I'm here Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Mondays and Tuesdays right now. And I'm the guy that comes in and stirs the pot.
Every pot needs a little stirring from time to time.
So I remind them that they're not broken, and teach them a little bit about the disease of alcoholism and substance abuse, and hopefully plant some seeds to get them to tap into some self-forgiveness, and to understand that if they drank and used for 10 or 15 or 20 years, we're not going to be able to fix them in 28 days. That this is the beginning of a lifetime journey, and give them the love and support that they need. A lot of them haven't even slept for a year, so they're catching up on sleep and food and nutrition and medication and social skills, and cooking in the kitchen together, and putting a meal together, and communicating with each other, and walking through fears. And they come in here by use the term scared rabbits, and they have behaviors and coping mechanisms, and they're manipulative, and they try to get away with things, and we get that. That's what they came in here. And to just sit down and tell people you don't have to lie, you don't have to steal, you don't have to BS anybody about grandiosity or anything else. You're a hot or messy drunk,
right?
And there's shame to that, because society treats drug addicts and alcoholics, the stigma out there is just stop. Well, if these people could just stop, they would.
Right.
They come to a place like Jackson House because they can't do it on their own. They need us. They need each other. The peers need each other. They need the structure. They need the accountability. And they're scared. They've said I'm sorry so many times to their family and friends, and their friends and family aren't buying it anymore.
Right.
And the game's over.
Right.
The party's over, as I like to say. And it's really important. I have two little philosophies in every group, and one is they haven't been paying attention. Their lives are falling into the gutter, and they're not paying attention. They know something's wrong. They know the gig is up, but we just keep reinforcing the negative, and we do more drugs and more alcohol. And but now suddenly talking to you, I forget what the second one is.
Your philosophies.
Yeah, I forgot what they are. I forgot. Not paying attention, and that this is going to take some time.
Yeah.
We don't. When you've been doing this for 8 or 9 or 10 or 25 years, it takes a long time to undo
all those habits,
habits and thought processes and things like that. So, we don't like to be confronted. We spend a lot of time living in shame and guilt. So when they come here, they're like, oh, I've been sober for 25 days or 30 days or whatever, they go home. And I said, don't expect the kids the car keys and the checkbook right away.
Yeah.
Because the people at home don't trust you. It's going to take time. You've been lying to them forever. And like I said earlier, I'm sorry doesn't work. So what are you going, how we teach them coping skills and to monitor expectations about their own journey. Maybe they think they're going to go to rehab or an IOP or a day treatment program or a halfway house, and they're going to, I've got this,
Exactly.
I'm going to do this. And I'm like, well, not only are you managing other people's expectations on you, like family and friends, but you have your own set of expectations that you're going to do the next right thing. Well, what if you don't? Our go-to is to go back and drink and use. How are you in that moment when you're alone by yourself and you wake up late and you burn the toast and your shoelace breaks, what are you going to do?
Right.
And it's those moments that they're not paying attention to. They've never paid attention. We don't like, as addicts, I say we because I'm right there with them. We don't like accountability and responsibility. So we're just a little afraid of it.
Right.
And that guilt and shame factor that sneaks in sometimes, we have to be aware of it. They have to pay attention. That's the other thing about paying attention. I don't know which one I said.
Yeah.
The whole paying attention thing is really key because we haven't. We've just kicked the can down the road for years. So my job and the staff cohesively hold the clients accountable, not because they're good, bad, right, or wrong. It's not about being good, bad, right, or wrong. It's about acknowledging there's a problem.
Where you're at.
Yeah, acknowledge where you are. You're a hot mess, falling down drunk. Okay,
right.
You're here. How much courage does it take to come here? How much courage does it take to stay here? How much courage does it take to own by saying the thing that scares you the most, that brings you the shame? I had a woman, I'll tell one story. I had a woman last year here, and she was crying because she lost her children to CPS.
Mm-hmm.
And I ask everybody when they get here, why are you here? Because my belief is that they already have the answers. They just haven't been paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
And we're here to help them pay attention. So this woman said, I lost my children to CPS, and she was crying. And I asked her, it's a little long story, I'll do it really quick. And I asked her, I said, question, do you love drugs and alcohol more than your own children? And she came across the group room and almost hit me.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked her to please pause, that this is a therapeutic, safe environment. I'm not trying to upset her. I am trying to get her attention.
Right.
She sat back down and we went on with the group. I asked her to just think about it. And I got about 4 people down, and then this little voice out of the crowd goes, yes. I go, yes, what? She said, I love drugs and alcohol more than my own children. I would shut them up. I would quiet them down. I would give them candy. I would whatever so that they were quiet so that I could go drink.
Mm-hmm.
Or I wasn't paying attention when they needed me. And to the point where CPS got involved.
Right.
I'm happy to report the last I heard, this is about 1.5 years ago, she's doing really well and has her kids back.
Yeah.
Because now she's paying attention.
Yeah.
And hearing those stories, I cry, because that's what we do. That's what we get to do, is help people help themselves.
Absolutely.
So this place and places like it, this is what we get to do. So I have a whole nother life out of here, and it's amazing, but this is how I get to give back.
Right.
And it's a great team here. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't a great team. The staff here really cares about the clients. I mean, on our breaks, on the side.
You're part of it, and it's so obvious,
It's so awesome. And we sit and talk about clients and, oh, this one's acting up and why, and it's because they're afraid, or this person's acting out, and we all talk about why, just sitting around the office or in, at lunch, and so
everybody's heart is invested in people here.
And we know that it's not about the behavior that we are seeing. It's an underlined thing.
Right.
Or somebody starts a little disagreement with another resident or whatever, we'll pull them aside and talk to them individually and then put them together and ask them to come up with, problem-solving solution. Because the other thing that we talk about a lot is, what do you use as an excuse to stay drunk or high? If you stay angry at Aunt Sally because she didn't pass the butter back in 1987 at Thanksgiving, and it's 2024, and you get upset about Aunt Sally every time, that's your trigger to go use. You better figure it out. So these are the types of things that you can't change what you don't acknowledge.
Exactly.
So
and this is a place to acknowledge it.
Call it out. Walk through the guilt. Walk through the shame. Call it out. And find a place for it where you can live with it so you don't have to destroy your life in the process. And that's what we get to do. It's amazing.
I love, a lot of people have already spoken to the fact that guilt and shame, is a big part of it. But I love how you brought that in as you're not a bad person. Like that's, that hit me when you said that, because I'm sure that is how people, a lot of people feel. Yeah. And so what tools do you recommend or give to people to make them unravel that? You kind of touched on it a little bit, but bring out that good person.
Yeah. So there's two. One is when they tell me their scary story, I don't make a big deal out of it. It's like, okay, so...
Because we all have a scary story, right?
We all have a scary story. But if it causes them a bunch of guilt, a lot of guilt and shame, and maybe some of it is pretty bad.
Right.
We hear some pretty horrible stories. But at the end of the day, some of these things happened 25 years ago or 2 weeks ago. And addicts do things under the auspices of when they're high that they regret when they're sober.
Right.
And understanding the addict behavior versus the person is palatable. And getting them to see that. Now, there's a whole nother piece for the family and the friends.
Sure.
Whole nother level. And that's what aftercare and family groups and Al-Anon and all of those organizations help put the families to do family groups. So it's a huge passion of mine. How to start that conversation again after years of resentments and things like that. The other one, I forgot now what I was going to say, is to, I'm trying to remember what your question is.
Bringing out the good person.
Oh, yeah, bringing out the good, reminding them. I actually do a group, I'm going to do it tomorrow, where I ask them, what are some things that you enjoy? And every time, I've done this group for 15 years, off and on. And every time I do it, the group basically is list 5 things that you enjoy and when's the last time you did it. Some people are like, listen to music 2 hours ago. But some people are like, spend time with my children, or walk in the park, or watch a sunset, or go canoeing, or sport activity. And then the piece about when's the last time you did it, sometimes it's years.
Yeah.
It's been years. In every group I've ever done, I've acknowledged 2 things. One is they lost themselves in their addiction and didn't follow through on their true passions. Number 2, nobody, I don't think I can say honestly, has ever brought up anything that costs any money. It's never been about money. It's always about family. It's so cool to
reconnect them with
themselves. Yeah. How do you, best job in the world.
Yeah.
To be able to connect. And I still feel that passion 41 years later.
Well, I can tell.
It doesn't go away.
It's obvious.
It doesn't go away. So I am glad that I get to come here and stir the pot and call them out a little bit and just say, yeah, you're a hot mess. Yeah. So what do you want to do about it? Let's fix it. I don't let them stay in shame. I try and get them to get into forgiveness as fast as possible. It takes a long time. I get swore at a lot. I get told to F off on a daily basis. I do. But and I always say bring it on. Bring it on. It's okay. Because what we're up against is 20 or 30 years of self-talk, of negative self-talk, and a lot of pain.
Oh gosh, I can already just tell anybody that has the privilege to work with you, how lucky they are.
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet. Thank you. I love it. So I would do more here, because Bruce is always teasing me to come back. But I decided to chill out on the work stuff. Not necessarily, but I'm traveling.
Enjoying life.
Living my best life, but I keep my toe in the water to do this work, and I love it.
I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned at the beginning that you were contemplating corporate America. So what was your background before? Were you in another line of work?
So I've done a lot of different things.
Okay.
I like I tell the clients, I was not I thought I was a bad person getting good, not a sick person getting well in my early recovery. And my journey is I had to discover my version of getting well and being good. And I come from a family of high achievers, we'll put it that way. And I realized at an early age that I wasn't going to do that. So I had to find my place. So I've taken on many different career moves. I have owned several businesses and started different committees and worked for lots of different people in different aspects.
Okay.
Bore you with all of that. Don't need a verbal resume, but it's all been amazing. And then I had an opportunity the corporate piece is I joined the Census Bureau, Department of Commerce in 2008. And I was part of the team to build some offices that have housed the decennial process for the Census Bureau.
Okay.
So that's like a 3 or 4 year project. So I do that, and then I do treatment, and then I do that, and then I do treatment.
Yeah,
so,
it probably keeps it fresh, and it probably allows you to not have anything get monotonous.
Yeah.
And come here to stir that pot
Yeah.
with fresh energy each week.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, in your either from your own experience or from what you see, what sets somebody who walks out this door with success versus somebody that isn't as successful? What sets that apart?
So,
in your opinion?
Yeah, so it's just my opinion. I do a thing I mentioned earlier, managing expectations. Mm-hmm. I ask people when they get here, are you here to get fixed or are you here to get well? The people that are here to get fixed, I think, are in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
Just because, I'm going to sidetrack for a second, but in our society, we're raised and grew up with, if you do A, B, and C, you'll get D, E, and F. Whether it's a job or you go to school, you get a career,
very linear,
family,
like this is the path, right?
Yeah, and with substance, even with health issues, if you have certain health issues, you take a pill, you get better, you get a rest, you get a cold, you take some NyQuil, you go to sleep, you wake up, you're fine in a week. With substance abuse, it's so much different. It breaks all the rules. It breaks all of the norms. Right. Drug addicts and alcoholics, up until maybe 25, maybe 30 years ago, certainly 40 and 50 years ago, they just threw us in rubber rooms and called us crazy, and that was it. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until the beginning of the 1930s and 40s where they started seeing that there was a coalition between substance use and consequences and how the body responded. So I think I went too far up the beaten path. So in my hope for people is, if they feel by the time they've spent 2 weeks to 26 weeks here, mm-hmm. that they will have information to apply to their day-to-day lives. Drug addicts and alcoholics don't fail on the bigger scale. We, like I said earlier, we'll drink over a broken shoelace. We'll if they set the bar too high, if they're going to, go right back to work and take the kids and do all of this life stuff too fast, and they don't live up to their own expectations, they're going to think they're failures again. Mm-hmm. So my hope for everybody is they go slow, like really slow. And it's hard when your family is involved, because they're like, okay, you were in treatment for 28 days.
They think it should be faster, which is probably a very valid point as to why getting the family involved is huge in somebody's
managing expectations on both sides.
Sure.
Because there's been so much miscommunication for so many years, and there's so much misguided anger and frustration, that if everybody could just sit back and take a breath and stop pointing fingers and blaming each other, realize it is a family illness, and it is, I could do a whole podcast on family rooms, but it is going to take time. I think that would be my best message, is it's going to take time to undo years of miscommunication and misunderstanding. So if somebody's walking out the door with the "I got this," those are the ones I worry about.
Right.
The ones I feel hopeful about is the ones that are paying attention, realize that this is going to be a process. And by process, I actually say, does anybody feel like they're going to be good when they leave here? And the hands that I go up, I try to manage your expectations. And I say, do you realize this is going to take a minimum of 6 months? So that takes the air out of a lot of people's balloon because we want to get well really fast.
Right. I mean,
we want our world to be okay. We want the people that we love to love us again and not look at us like the ball's going to drop the next 5 minutes or we're not going to, like, you know, when I got sober, I said I was going to 7-Eleven. I'll be back in 10 minutes. And I went to 7-Eleven and came back in 10 minutes. Not when I was drinking, I said I was going to 7-Eleven and I came back 3 days later via Las Vegas,
right.
You know. So building trust with family and self, they don't trust themselves.
Yeah.
When they leave here, they're scared to death. Because it's like I started to say, it's the little things.
Mm-hmm.
I could be well on my way to 7-Eleven and I get a phone call or I think I have a thought. Or my dealer calls me or somebody calls and says, come have a drink. And I'm like, I'm just going to 7-Eleven. And they'll go, well, come over and you can go to 7-Eleven after. Mm-hmm. Well, to an addict, that makes sense. I never make it to 7-Eleven. And I don't get back home for another 12 or 14 hours. And then my significant person, friend or partner or family member, looks at me and says, where were you? And I go, well, I just went to Bob's house. And they're like, but you were going to 7-Eleven and you certainly weren't going to get drunk. Why are you drunk again?
And there it starts.
And there it starts. Mm-hmm. And the addict looks at the person they love and they say, I don't know. I don't know why that happened. So when they're leaving here, if we can manage expectations, drug addicts and alcoholics don't fail because they want to disappoint the people they love. They quote unquote relapse. I don't want to use the word fail because that's what we do.
Just have it. Yeah.
That why piece is addiction.
Mm-hmm.
That moment when you look at somebody you love and say, why did you do that? And they go, I don't know. They don't know. It doesn't make any sense. So that shame and guilt from the medical models, it defies logic. If I know that I'm going to drink and use and I think about it and I know that there's consequences and I go do it anyway, anybody looking at me would be like, you idiot.
Yeah.
But that's what we do.
Yeah. And then it goes back to just,
it's
again,
fine. It keeps going.
Yeah.
Just keeps going.
You know, there's that shame and guilt again. I'm disappointed in somebody and here it all starts.
And then hopefully they come to a place like this and they get to breathe.
Yeah.
They get to eat, they get to sleep, and they get to
reflect and start to understand themselves, because we live in such a fast-paced world. I mean, even probably more so of the, you said 43 years for you, so I'm sure
just to keep a count.
Okay. But I'm sure treatment has changed quite a bit since then, and then just the busyness of what's beyond these doors here is probably a lot for people to handle, without having good support and good systems.
Yeah, you said something that's very interesting. This is a little point for me is, unfortunately, addiction hasn't changed at all in 40 years.
Yeah.
People are still dying. They're still dying, needlessly. So treatment centers are a wonderful opportunity to give people the potential or the hope. We're in the hope business.
I love that.
We're very much in the hope business. And they have the courage to come here, and we sprinkle hope and give them some options and cross our fingers.
Well, I love that, and hope is a great word to use, because that's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And we provide that through people like you.
We do.
So
yeah, and Jackson House.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for spending some time with us today, sharing your insights, and thank you everyone for joining us today on this episode of the Jackson House podcast. We hope that Andrew's insights and tools helped to motivate you. Please remember to like, share, follow, and rate this podcast. Your support helps us reach others who may need to hear that they are not alone. Together, we are making a difference. One story, one call, one life at a time. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode. We hope you've gained valuable insights and feel more empowered in your journey. If you or a loved one is facing mental health challenges or addiction, remember, you're not alone. Jackson House can help. Hold on to hope and take the first step towards transformation. Give us a call at 888-255-9280. Your path to recovery starts now.